Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello everyone. Welcome to GFX Farhan. In this video, I am going to share with you guys the sandstorm effect and desert and dunes that I created in Houdini. To follow this tutorial, you will need a project file. The project file available on my Gumroad website and the download link of this project file are available in the video description. You can download it, open it in Houdini and follow along. One thing more guys, you must need the project file to follow the tutorial or creating this effect, because this is not a step-by-step tutorial. It is a walkthrough of this setup. So let's get started. So first of all, I created a desert environment, which is a simple desert with dunes, because I don't have any much experience in creating a good environment, so I create this. I didn't create this desert effect myself. I follow a YouTube video. Here is the video and the credit of creating a desert is goes to this guy. I follow this video and created this effect, but I changed some values in it because its desert dunes are very big and I didn't want such big dunes, so I changed some values in it. Let me show you. Here I add a height field, then I add a height field noise and I change these values. Here my amplitude is 50 and element size is 20, but the other person use 450 and 450 both, which create very huge and big dunes, which I don't want, so I use these values. Here volume up by adding some node of turbulent noise, multi constant, add node, veins node, and then again a multi constant, and then add it with our density. Position is adding with the density. Then I add a height field erode and connect it first input here, and then I add a mask field which is look like this. Here is the values, and by checking it give me this effect. Then I run simulation of 5 frame of this height field erode to add some erosion effect. Okay, after running 5 frame of simulation of this height field erode, it give me this effect, which look very nice. Then add a convert height field and change it to polygon. Now it is converted in polygon, because here is in VDB form, and now it is converted in polygons. Add a normal and cached this frame. Now the size of the desert is very big, and high points number and high primitive numbers, which slow down our viewport. So I create a camera view. So I created a camera view and then add a group node and select the only my view area and blast the unwanted area. Add a attribute delete node to delete the unwanted attributes, material, and out desert. Our desert is ready. So friends, now let's move on to the setup of the sandstorm simulation. Let's open it. Well, I didn't create this setup with a single layer because if we create a large layer, it is very difficult to simulate it out. So for this, I simulate a single small layer, and then copied it and then created different wedges and then merge them. Let's check the first setup. This is my single layer, single small layer, and then copy and change some values like we do in merging, like we do in wedging system, and then merge them. Well, if you thinking if you think about it, I have do some numbering like 1 2 3 and 4 is here and 5 is here, 6 is here, and then 7 is here and 8 is here. So what it mean? It means I created this in a correct arrangement. It means that this node is added first and this node is added later. Let me show you. I add a grid of 50 by 25 size with some rows and columns. Then I add a mountain node to add some noise on this grid. Now we need some animation in the x direction. So I add a transform node and add some expression here by add some expression of $ff divided by 70, which give me some animation. After that, let me close or uncheck them. After that, I add a DOP network and convert my geometry into particles. Simple setup. Now this is fine, but if I check the velocity, so there is no velocity or it is very low. So we need some custom velocity. Then here I add a normal node to add some normal in it. Check it. And then I add a attribute warp and created some custom velocity. This is the setup by adding anti-alias flow noise, a fit node, a mix node, and multiply it with velocity. And the result goes in the velocity. This is our minimum noise, this is our maximum noise, this is our direction mix, and this is the global multiplier from range of 0 to 10. By promoting it in the SOP level, I add a $FF divided by 100 in the offset of the X position to add some animation in the velocity, some random movements. This is our global multiplier. This is our direction mix, and this is minimum noise and this is maximum noise. Okay, now the velocity is ready. Then I add a pyro source node to add density and temperature, and then add a volume rasterize attribute and add a density, temperature and velocity here. If I connect a pyro solver by first disconnect the collision, okay, if you face this problem, just change the name and it work. Okay, by simulating it now our p scale is very small and it didn't fill the gaps. So we need to adjust our p scale. Look at here. If I check my p scale here, the value is 0.3, which is very low. Then I add a attribute warp node, and here I import our p scale and multiply it with point number by adding a random and fit it with the minimum p scale and maximum p scale and multiply with our p scale, and then add a bind export node and export it. Now if you check, our particles will look like, see, now the result is changed. Now we need to add some noise on the density field or density attribute. So I add a attribute noise and add some noise on our density. Make sure it is float, density is float, not vector. If we run our simulation, so look here, they are filled up. There are not enough noise in it. So adding noise in it in the geometry, I add a attribute warp node and use a noise in the CD. I add a turbulent noise in the CD. 1D noise. This is the setting, sparse convolution noise. And now black means 0, white means 1. Now I blast the black part by adding @cd.x greater than 0 and check the delete non-selected. Now there is some good amount of noise and gaps in our particles. Now in pyro solver, in sourcing, I decrease it to 0.5 temperature pull and also the velocity, because with the value of 1 it rise the smoke, which I don't want. uh, Dissipation value and buoyancy value, disturbance, turbulence and shredding. I also added some micro solvers, three values of gas disturbance, and one thing more, my time scale copy parameter are connected with this time scale by just paste relative reference here, also connected with here and here. Three different values of disturbance and gas turbulence. Viewport is stuck. Let's reset it. And show all. Now I have some dunes and some ups and downs in the way of our storm. So we need collision of them. For collision, I have import this desert, and let me hide other object. Now it is very big, and it is very big, and my simulation is here. Now I group it, this part, then blast it, and then now it is a thin plane. Here collision cannot work. So I added extrude volume node and added some depth. Then delete unwanted attributes and add a collision source with 0.2 voxel size and merge both. Here actually I change this into VDVs. This part give us collision and this part give us velocity, and connect it here. Now our collision are working, and then I have cached it. I cached it, but I delete frame from frame 1 to frame 69 to release some disks, some to free some disk space, because we don't need this part. Now our one layer is ready. Now it's time to wedge them. For wedging, I copy it 8 times and change some values. all the yellow marks like these two, this one and this one, in every part of this have some change values. There are yellow colors in every wedges, and what it means that these nodes have some values, some different values, like mountain amplitude and element size. Here is different and here is different. Here is 20 and 25. In transform node there is some different values of, and the color noise also have different values in every copy or in every layer. Here I change the offset of every layer. Then I merge them after simulation. When I combine them and run a flipbook, then something went wrong, and the wrong part is in the speed, because I want to create a large scale sandstorm, but the movement are very fast. So for this purpose I use a retime node to slow it down. I add a retime node, and here my input frame are from 70 to 306. I simulate from 1 to 306 frame and delete the one from 1 to 69. So I have 70, from 70 to 306 frames which I have cached, and our output range is from 1 to 450. And now I decrease the speed, but here I also add some animation. I add a keyframe, and by here is a default speed of 1, and then I change from 24, like after 1 second I decrease it to 0.5. After that it give me a slow speed or slow movement which look like large scale, which give us a feel of large scale. And these transform are used for filling the gap. If I close them, these are 9 copies, but I also have some gap here. So filling it, I just copy some of the two, like this one and this one, and add a retime node. And one thing more, after adding a retime node, when I play it I have some jumping in my smoke. Then what I do, I I change some value in volumes. Here I change my blend mode from transform only to advected, and also click check the interpolate velocity field, which fix the jumping problem. Now this part is completed. Then I copy one of them and change some setting and add an on the top layer. If I merge them, this is the top layer. Then I merge both of them and add a pyro bake volume. Now our main sandstorm is completed. Now we need some light dust on the ground. Then I add some another simulation here. I just copy one of them, paste it here, and here add some changes. Here I decrease the size of my grid. Here I use 60 by 5. In mountain I use noise type Perlen. Here I add some another expression in the offset value. Here also I add some expression in the color noise, and there are also some changes. In sourcing I source 0.25 density, 0.25 temperature, and 0.5 value of velocity. Here I use less disturbance, less turbulence, and less threading. And here I only add one layer of microsolver of cache disturbance, and the collision process are same, and then cache it. Here I cache from frame 1 to 450 complete, because I want this in real time speed, and here I don't use any retime node. After merging, and add a pyro bake volume. Actually the retime is calculating and takes some time. Okay, I also add some desert plants from Megascan, and scatter on the ground. These are a bit heavy. Let me close these and show object. Some viewport glitch. If I check it, okay, so this is the scattering of plant. Now our this setup is completed. I use this one for changing the resolution of plants. This part is connected with the plant resolution. Let's jump into the Solaris. So I rendered this using Karma. This is my sandstorm, dust storm, sandstorm, our main large storm. This is our ground dust. This is our ground dust, and this is our desert. And here is our plants, but I hide or close it temporary because they are very heavy. Everything is set up. Karma physical sky and dome light. I use a HDRI and a Karma sky. Sorry, Karma sun. Here I close the skylight. I use only sunlight. Here is the camera which I import from the shop. Or and one thing more, I use volume limit to 1 because I want to add some light in the dust. Let me check you. If I close it, the dust look like darker. If I increase it to 1, now it is look like it give us lighter effect because the light is passing in the dust, but the render time are very slow by using this. And one thing more, I add a LP tag of environment light and LP tag of sunlight, which I used for AOVs. Here I add a combined diffuse and check the split per LP tag, and add a combine volume and also split per LP tag. What it mean? It means if I render it, it give me a beauty combined diffuse. In combined diffuse, it give me a environment light, HDRI light and sunlight. And in combined volume, environment light separate and sunlight is separate. This is very useful for compositing purpose, because adding AOVs you have full control on compositing, on the light and shadow and everything. Okay guys, the tutorial is ended, and hope you like it, enjoy it, and please subscribe the channel for more content. See you in another video. Goodbye.